removed.
For who?
Me and this young
Oh,
lady.
that's funny.
Yeah. Matt, that's not acceptable.
I think that would be in the setting where you can create.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, that's what I would have at least for prescription. Oh,
You guys just write name out there for check. Thank you.
Right.
Went to the chiropractor. I think Monday night. And I must have been real off, because I've definitely felt better.
Are you still
You,
sore?
well, kind of a little bit, just kind of that.
I don't like how they've got a, like they crack you in half, but you gotta relax enough to let them do it.
Yeah.
I always like- He's like, just relax, just relax.
My nephew he's physical therapist, but he does a lot of stuff that a chiropractor does. And he goes, start going to a chiropractor, loosen yourself up, And I'll have to admit that I do feel better.
Go when I have to.
Yeah.
Usually by then it's pretty bad.
On the floor underneath for Mary Martha's, is that something that was walks on the floor? Oh, all right, I couldn't tell with this light shining on, I didn't know if it was something electronic or. Thank you.
It was a little bit cold earlier.
I think all the bodies.
Yeah.
Was Jenny, oh, there she is.
Hey, Mary Martha, are you in?
I'm in.
Awesome. Thank you. I think with that, it is 4:30, so we will call our regular meeting of the Butler Community College Board of Trustees to order, and we'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Need to approve the agenda. Shelby, just to follow up, you had sent a message about the issues that related to the proposed statement. Yeah. My intention was that would be part of the discussion item we already have for the HLC reports.
I was
That's
gonna
why
bring it
it's
up
not
too. We
listed
signed
separate.
it out of action items anyway, originally, so we could still sign it if we wanted to tonight, I assume, during that discussion or after. It wouldn't require an action item, I don't think, anyway.
No, I don't think it would. And I guess if it did, we could reach consensus and do it next month if we need to. But I didn't want you to think that was purposely excluded. It was within
no,
what I
saw it on
expected was the scope. So, with that clarification, does anybody have any amendments to the agenda? If not, would entertain a motion to approve it as presented.
I move that we approve as it presented. Approve the minutes as presented,
Agenda. I would
or
second.
the agenda.
I would second.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shear,
Yes,
trustee Smith.
Yes. Okay, that passes 7-0. Moving on to recognitions, Dr. Kroll.
Thanks. A couple of recognitions tonight. First one is Dr. Noreen Templin, who's sitting with us in the audience. Noreen presented a SWOT collaboration for community college economics courses with a number of other instructors or folks. I guess I don't know if they're instructors or not, but Heather Chapman of Heartland Community College, Susan McMaster of Frederick Community College, and James Payton of Highline Community College at the 21st Annual St. Louis Fed Professors Conference that was held in St. Louis in November at the Federal Reserve Bank. And so again, Noreen's been here a number of times. She's one of the advisors for FBLA and, just continually active in her professional growth in organizations. And all of that helps bring the information back to our students in the classroom. And so we appreciate that, Noreen, and thank you so much for the work that you do. We also have with us Kay Kotz, Dr. Kay Kotz, who's sitting in the back row there. She's the Director of Resource Development and works in IR with Esam and Jenna and Bryony. And she just successfully completed the grant writing certification course from Fort Hays State University. So thank you. We just received information today through a press release that Bill Young, our CIO, has been named 2023 Infotech CIA Award winner. But CIA. CIO award winner by the Infotech Research Group, which is one of the world's leading IT research and advisory firms. He was recognized as one of the top winners for the Growth Leader Division. And so just let me read a little bit for you. The press release said that Butler's Information Services Division at the college has been at the forefront of harnessing cutting-edge technology to enhance the educational experience for both students and faculty. Through a path of unwavering dedication to staying ahead of the technological curve, the division has consistently provided exceptional value and satisfaction to college stakeholders. Leveraging innovative solutions, they have cultivated a dynamic digital environment for students. By adapting to the to the evolving needs of the college community and embracing emerging tech trends, Butler Community College's Information Services Division has been a key driver in ensuring that the college remains a technology leader in the ever-changing landscape of higher education. These leaders and the award winners were selected from hundreds of eligible contenders, and a lot of it was based on IT satisfaction and value scores through a survey that was sent out. And so, Bill, thank you for your commitments and for this great award. We're really proud of you and we appreciate your. And then you have in your board book as well, the honor roll of Butler veterans for 2023. I think it's really important to know that these are just the people that reported their service. Our office always sends out an email each year and asks if people would like to be part of the honor roll and to send us that information. And so these are the folks that have replied this year. We know that there are probably hundreds of more years of service in our armed forces that aren't listed here between staff and students. But this is just a nice sampling. We've got, and obviously in the room, Kent and Forrest, and I'm not sure, just down through the list real quick, if I see Cheryl Asage, lots of faculty that submitted information. And so we appreciate the service. Thank the veterans and enlisted folks for their service. We had a really nice Veterans Day ceremony in Andover on Friday as well. So that was live streamed. So appreciate that. And so thank you to all the veterans. That's what I have.
Okay, we have one submission for public comment. I don't know if the person's here. I'm looking at the addresses in China with a phone number. So they didn't ask for a Zoom contact, so I don't know if they were expecting someone. Yes, China. So that's Sun Yan Mai. No. Okay. What I would suggest is maybe we email them and arrange to connect them at the December meeting if they want to.
Yeah.
And have a.
Jennifer, it came as an online submission through the portal. And I think what was said there was that there was some interest in us trying to organize and start a university setting in China. That must be what the conversation is about. So,
Okay, well, we will table that, I guess.
Yeah.
Thanks. We'll
thanks.
take that back up next month.
A satellite location.
Yeah. Any other public comment for those that are here? Oh.
Want to read your.
Yeah, here, before you start, let me go ahead and read the public comment description that we have. General public is welcome to address the Board of Trustees under the public comment section of the regular board meeting agenda. Public comment should be germane to the business and activities of the Board of Trustees. The public is also welcome to address the Board of Trustees during the public comment portion of any special meeting agenda, but the public comment at the special meeting should be related to an agenda item of that special meeting. Personnel issues are prohibited from public comment. The board chair will ask visitors wishing to make brief comments to identify themselves and the topic they are wishing to address. If several members of one group or organization wish to speak to the board concerning the same item, the board chair may ask the group to identify a single spokesperson. A time limit of 5 minutes has been set for each recognized member or spokesperson of the audience to speak to the board. The board will take no action during the public comment period of the board meetings. However, it will take the matter under deliberation and if appropriate, direct the president to follow up with a written response and report at the next regular board meeting. So with that, if you would make sure your mic is on.
Indeed, I believe it is. My name is Dr. Andrea McCaffrey Wallace, and I've been a Butler faculty member for 12 years. I'm here today to deliver a petition signed by over 130 faculty members and advisors, almost all of the professional employees, asking that this body approve our cost of living raise while preserving our due process rights. I think Corey is going to pass that petition out. Due process rights are important for reasons I will explain in a moment, but first I would like to explain why Butler is important to me. 4 generations of the McCaffrey family have attended Butler, beginning with my great-great uncle Kenneth, who went on to get his PhD in economics and become a consultant in both the Kennedy and Nixon administrations on Medicare. Butler has also educated my family to become vet techs, mechanics, real estate agents, hairstylists, high school teachers, ranchers, stay-at-home moms, pre-K teachers, and Cargill managers. Butler has inspired generations of my family to find their direction and given them the tools to become upwardly mobile. For me and many of my colleagues, Butler is a legacy, not a job. My daughter and her cousins will become the 5th generation in my family to attend Butler, and I take the responsibility of preserving Butler for them, its integrity and its excellence very seriously. I am a Butler lifer, and I am not the only one. Like many faculty, I see going above and beyond as doing my part to keep Butler successful and competitive. I cannot easily list off the many projects I have worked on to help the college, but the most impactful has probably been my English OER textbooks, leading to more than $2 million in savings for Butler students in just over 5 years of usage. I am just one faculty member, and I am not unique. There are many more examples of this around campus. I can think back to the countless unpaid hours I have given this college, how I have always been an early adopter and always done what has been asked of me. I think about teaching at the prison with morning sickness and editing the index for our newest edition of our English OER with my newborn on my lap, just a week after almost dying while giving birth. This was for my students. This was for Butler. I do not regret these sacrifices. They are what is needed to keep this institution on track, but we cannot be asked to sacrifice like this without some level of job security. I have given a lot to Butler, but I refuse to give up the small amount of security my family and I have for this job. Dr. Kroll and other members of the college's bargaining team and the board should go on the record about their beliefs about due process. Not doing so is a true slap in the face to faculty members like me, especially when our children's insurance and our next mortgage payment is dependent on this job. When I began sitting down to write these comments, I was startled at the strong emotions that this brought up in me. But I realized that's because my work at Butler is very personal and important to me. And the administration seeking to eliminate my job protections is nothing less than a personal affront. I believe the fact that we were able to gather the signatures of more than 130 faculty, almost the entire bargaining unit, and with very little effort shows how important this issue is to us. Dr. Kroll has been correct. There are state protections for faculty, but she knows as well as I do that those state protections don't mean much. Just last year, state due process rights were suspended at Emporia State University, and faculty who had worked at that institution, some for decades, were called into a lecture hall and fired without reason or recourse. There are 2 key words there, reason and recourse. Our due process rights do not make us unfireable, but they do mean that the college must, 1, give us a reason that we have been fired, and 2, that we have some recourse to challenge this decision in arbitration. The board members can find the exact language of these rights in the latest edition of the Advocate, which was included with your copy of the petition. But you will find that our due process rights simply require documentation. With cause, faculty members should be able to be let go, but not without cause. It is with the future of Butler at heart that I come to you today to ask you to be reasonable, to ask you to help preserve a process that has cultivated trust between the faculty and administration, something we certainly do not want to eliminate. Please add due process language directly to our contracts to preserve this trust. As faculty, we should not be asked to pick between a cost of living raise and job protections. Please do not force good faculty out of this school and make us pick between our families and Butler. For some of us, it would be an impossible choice because our families and Butler are the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else? We will move on then to standing reports.
Emily's Molly.
Oh, yeah. Wait for a second and awesome. Room to free up. Hey, Emily, come on in. Come on in.
How are you guys?
You're good. The floor is yours.
Hello, I'm Emily Hernandez. I'm your SGA president, and I am bringing your SGA report for this semester. October 17th, we partnered with Public Safety and Family Life Center, Safe House, for self-defense training. All free to students, of course, and public. October 26th, we had our Walters Free Admission Pumpkin Patch Day. October 27th, we had our hollow bash where we had about 40 to 50 in attendance. We gave out a free Apple iPad and some gift cards for a costume contest. October 30th was our pumpkin painting contest, and they received some free movie tickets. November 9th was our fall bash, and we had about 60 in attendance. There was a DJ and a mechanical bull which the students loved. And this week is November 16th will be our pie and cider. Is there any questions or comments? All right. Thank you guys so much.
Hey, thanks for joining.
Emily, I have a question.
Just a second.
Yes.
How many students went out to Walter's Pumpkin Patch?
We had about 40. I'm not sure that she said about 40, but we didn't get an exact number back from her.
Great, good. Thank you.
Thanks again. Move on to operational staff. Zach.
I have just a couple things tonight. Last week we kicked off our holiday fundraiser, which this year we are selling Midwest mixes. The fundraiser will end on December 1st, and all orders will be delivered before we leave on winter break. You can place the orders in person on either the Andover, El Dorado, or Rose Hill campuses. If you have any questions about the fundraiser, please reach out to one of the ops staff officers and we can help you guys out. Our next meeting is scheduled Thursday, November 16th at 3 in Andover. Any questions? All right, thanks.
Thank you. Professional employees, Dr. Sater.
Look, no one wants to be on this road. No one wants to go to the destination it's taking us to. But there are off-ramps. There are options that we can take together as a board and the professional employees. We hope that you're willing to take those options and work with us.
Dr. Sater, I have some questions.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to hear more about what's going on in the classrooms and in the buildings on BCC campus. Is that something to do for us next meeting, is tell us what's going on in classrooms?
I will come up with that for you.
I would appreciate it.
Thank you. Board Finance Committee, Linda and Ray Martha.
Okay, if you'll turn to page 34, the notes we've made there in reference to revenue are that under other, revenue is up due to interest rates being higher, that we're earning more interest on funds. And then under expenses, there are some variations, but nothing to specifically point at, and so we'll keep an eye on that. We should note that we probably won't get our audit report until January. GASB 96 has required that we take the long-term IT contracts and count those as assets. Also, in reference to the audit, we will probably see have a write-up in reference to the way that we've handled some of our depreciation. And so we should anticipate that. And basically the change or the correction will, we were overstating our assets and we should have depreciated more in the second year. So we'll see a note to that. So we should anticipate it. If you have questions specifically, you could ask Kent.
Kent, the underspend on expenses, is that just a reflection that we're only partially into the year and that's so the budget number is for the whole year and we obviously haven't expended that much for the whole year. Okay. Thank you all. Foundation board report, have nothing to report. Be meeting next week. Yeah. So I'll have something at the December meeting. Dr. Kroll.
Thanks. Couple of quick things. Election results, Mary Martha, Forrest, Shelby were reelected, and we have a new trustee, Dr. Aaron Huselig, joining the board in January. We'll do board orientation the very first week of January to get Dr. Huselig, sorry, up to speed, and then first meeting in January is when he'll officially join. We received a notification, I guess last week, maybe it was the very end of last week, that Butler has been named again this year in 2023 by Military Times, a best for vets college within the college rankings. Military Times, this is the largest and most comprehensive annual ranking of schools for military service members and veterans. It's a survey that's analyzed by Military Times, along with public comment and public information that they get off of the Department of Education website and Department of Veterans Affairs. And so Amy Cyphers, who is our VA benefits coordinator, indicated that she's really proud of this. They have a really good veterans advisory board that helps do the work to honor our veterans and provide opportunities for them. And so I just wanted to let you know that that's a nice ranking and a nice recognition that we have, and we get to put that on the website of the institution. We also, I think you folks also received a notification, probably that BCTV Plus, which is, oh, Matt's gone, Matt Jacobs and Tyler Nordman are really, doing some great things. They live streamed the Butler Dodge football game, and it was on ESPN Plus. And so it was a great recognition for Butler, some opportunities within that game to do Butler commercials and to recognize Butler. And I know that there's some things in the works for next year to continue to do some work with ESPN Productions. And so really a neat recognition for the college. Everything's student run. Kayla's part of that group. And so that's pretty impressive, the quality of the work that's being done, and especially impressive that it's really a student run, situation for all of our games and production. So congratulations. They fall in under Bill Young's leadership and in a lot of the work that they do. So, and then nurses pinning, I've got some other dates that I want to point out to you when we get to the calendar stuff at the end of the meeting, but December 14th at 7 p.m. is nurses pinning in the Performing Arts Center where we held it this past spring, and we need somebody that's willing to do a welcome for that, just a short welcome.
And I'll do it again.
Would you like to do it again? Okay. Okay. Thanks, Dave. We'll keep you posted on the details, and we'll get an invitation out to the rest of the trustees to attend and have some seating reserved and everything. So dates to remember, we'll talk about that when we get to the calendar. So I think that's all I have.
That's Mary Martha's birthday.
That's right. It is.
Okay, Dr. Kroll, thank you. Last on the standing reports is Educational Facilities Authority.
And we're not meeting until the 13th of December. So.
Okay. Look for something after that. Okay, we'll move on to the monitoring reports. Dr. Rinkenball.
Good evening. I also have Christy Streeter, who's our Associate Dean, fairly not new to Butler, but new to this role. So welcome. And you've all had a chance to read our report, so we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
think Jennifer put a hard copy of the last page, the EDCF information at your place. That wasn't included in the information that was in the board book, but you've got a hard copy there. That was the only update to the report.
One thing I noticed was the addition in high school students in the early college academy. And I kind of had a feeling it would happen because I know from the El Dorado area, I was asked a lot, that as a teacher last year, they put my name down a lot.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. We've had growth in several areas of our division. So online, high school, Flint Hills, EDCF. And we're working on McConnell. That's something that we've really tackled pretty hard with Christy coming on board. So we're looking forward to the coming year and seeing the changes and how that can make a difference in our enrollment.
Christy, welcome back to Butler.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. I'll move on to our strategic discussion items, and we'll start off with our the interim monitoring report and follow up to the HLC visit. Dr. Kroll.
Well, I'm gonna get Phil up here. He's the expert when it comes to interim reports and all things HLC. Make sure, Phil, when you get up there that microphone's on. I know some of you participated in the webinar, I think just, if it's not a green button, just hit it on, there you go.
Yep.
Some of you participated in the webinar, which really wasn't specific about our needs for the interim monitoring report. It was really kind of a general overview of what the contents need to be, but Phil, do you want to talk about that a little bit? I know that there were some questions about, content and how to address the things that need to be part of the interim monitoring report and what the ultimate goal is for that. I do want to tell you that Phil and I spoke last week, and I emailed Tom Bordenkircher to ask for an extension on the submission date from January to March, to the end of March. And he was going to write a letter to the Institutional Action Council requesting that. And I anticipate that they will agree with that.
Did you
but
feel that was necessary?
Yes, and Phil will help explain why. And part of that is because the interim monitoring report needs to discuss and talk about what the future board is going to do and what's going to happen to make changes in the future. And some of that is the result of election changes and having a little bit.
All because of the board governance part, right?
That's what the interim monitoring
So
report
we
is about.
didn't have any part of that. You just made that arbitrary decision that it was going to be put off till March. I'm just
No.
asking.
Well, the way you're asking it suggests that you're challenging the decision. If you want to challenge.
Well,
it,
I
say so.
just think that we should have probably discussed it. Because we
Well,
had the minority board members did have some ideas about how we could quickly get it resolved.
Well,
That's fine.
we're going to have more discussion about this. Why don't you table that thought and let's listen to what Dr. Spurrier has to say.
I think Phil's knowledge and expertise in what that report needs to address and how it needs to be written will help frame this conversation.
Yeah, basically, I would share that the HLC panel that will review and either approve or not approve the monitoring report expects not to hear about what has happened in the past, but what will happen in the future. And so in conversation that I've had with Tom at Chicago, if the board had stayed the same, then the board could proceed in terms of putting together a monitoring report. But the fact that the board has significantly changed, that means that it has to address what's going to happen after the first of the year and not what has happened in the past. Essentially, and the monitoring report is only supposed to be 7 pages long. But essentially what needs to be done is submit systematically that the board needs to work through the component parts of 2C, which addresses governance, and respond in terms of their looking forward in terms of how they intend to demonstrate their compliance and, I would say, celebration even of what the concepts are in 2C. So as I recall, there are 4 component sections of it, and I would also point out the fact that the board has to write this. Personally, as the liaison for the college to HLC, I've been forbidden to be involved in terms of past some essentially consulting with you, but it has to be entirely and obviously the work of the board in terms of how you will respond to each of the issues. You certainly have the opportunity to respond to observations that were made by the evaluation team, but in the sense that how things are going to change or be reinforced, or how things will progress. So I would point out that I don't think that the issue that was not primarily about split votes. It was about other issues. And I think that if you carefully read through the components of 2C, then you can reflect on ways that you can respond to HLC. I would entertain questions, I guess.
I just had one.
Yep.
When you say significant changes, are you talking about the fact that only one board member will not be returning is a significant change?
Yes.
So that is your significant change.
Yeah, that's the significant change. Yeah.
Just wanted to iron that out.
I listened to the whole 45-minute death by meeting that could have been done in 5 minutes. The summary is it's 7 pages or less. Number your pages. They want to be clear and ambiguous, concise, precise, organized. They don't want any backstory. And then the report that they gave us is one line that they want us to do. Report. The report should affirm that board members understand the limits of their roles and the appropriate role for the president and administration, which what I submitted a couple of months ago with the tweaks to her sign on the wall would address that completely and satisfy them. And during the 45-minute program, somebody said, hey, do you guys have a sample online that we can use? So we do just your right template? No, of course they don't have a sample template. It's just give us something concise that explains what we asked you to do. And that was it, which I think we're at the precipice of doing it right now. But we need to, I mean, I think we could sign it now and send it off and then sign it again in January and show that we've done it, twice with all of our board members in unison. I don't see how that wouldn't satisfy them with what they've given us to do.
Well, I'll tell you, it won't satisfy them. It would be a significant part of your response, but it won't be sufficient if you say, here's a very brief action that we've taken. I think it could be a very positive element of what you submit to them, but that's not sufficient. I know what they said in terms of understanding the role of the administration and the board, but
I also know that they expect the board to respond across the board to the various concepts that need to be demonstrated through those components of 2C.
I don't remember, Dr. Spurrier, you provided us, and I wish I would have brought it with me. It's in my materials at home. You provided us with sort of a bullet point summary of the issues that they flagged. And my recollection is there were multiple. And my intuitive thought is that we're going to have to hit each one of those individually, not write a book about them, but I think we're going to have to hit each one and explain how we're going to address and correct it. And I was skeptical when we talked with Dr. Bordenkircher, and he didn't really answer the question clearly. I don't know that just promising to do better is going to satisfy them when they've seen 4 years of experience of us not doing what they expected us to do.
Well, they will expect, typically in monitoring reports, they expect timelines, action plans, responsible parties for things being done. A lot of it needs to be future action in terms of like, they would be basically talking about what we would anticipate would probably happen in the next 2 years, while those of you that will still be board members, at least in the next 2 years, your participation. They understand the cycle of the board voting here, and so they won't expect you to talk about more than 2 years, but they would expect what you anticipate is probably be expected to happen in the next 2 years.
Am I wrong, or have I not written enough reports in educational settings? But they're kind of asking us to write our goals as a group of trustees for the next 2 years and how we're going to get there, and if there's any changes, address those changes.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. No, I think
am I oversimplifying it?
I think that's a pretty good summary.
But knowing that they always want to know, okay, what's your plan? How are you going to follow through with your plan? And if your plan changes, why does it change? And then why did you change the plan? And what ends, are you there to better the ends? Am I not reading this right?
No, I think that's true. I would just tell you to make sure that what you write is very specifically referencing the criteria, that it needs to reference and quote the criteria components and then respond to it.
I would just like to address again, they mentioned in their report all the things that we've already done. We had HLC meetings, several different board meetings, board retreats, and they've done all the stuff. They don't want to hear that. They just want, here's, I could tell from the 45-minute program, it's the one sentence. They want a report saying we understand the division of labor between the president. And they're telling us exactly what they want, and we're trying to create a new report to send them. And
I think that's ignoring some of the issues they flagged. One of the issues they flagged was a question about the, I'll use my words, board interference with educational issues. And I'm not going to go into academic freedom, but that's not covered by, but that's something we have to respond to. I don't think that's.
So why don't they ask for that in their recommendation of what they want us to respond?
Why don't they have something?
I think what Phil is saying is we have to go back to the actual site team report and note the concerns that are in there. And one of the concerns that they specifically used, example they used, was the overstep into the faculty's classroom and curriculum management, which is an overstep into academic freedom by the board. And so I think, so I think that's what Phil is saying, that some of those things that were actually written in the site team report are things that also have to be addressed. And I just would say to you, Phil's the expert. He's been doing this for years and years and years. And you've been on Institutional Action Council you've read interim monitoring reports. I think, he's a significant resource for us in understanding, for you in understanding what that report has to comprise.
Because the panel
Yeah.
who reviews your report will focus on the entire team report in terms of that section of the report. I understand. I think your reaction, Shelby, it's very understandable, but I think it's kind of unfortunate that they weren't more extended in terms of what they say they would want, but believe me, I know what they will want. And also in terms of a model, monitoring reports about board members and board action is very unusual.
I would just say, I mean, that whole meeting with the bigwigs, they couldn't give any specifics what they wanted. They literally said over and over and over, we don't want a big laundry list of stuff. We don't want a lot of pages. Just answer your report, give it to us as concise as possible, and we'll be done. And by the way, we have no examples that you could possibly follow online to satisfy it. Let's just sign it, send it off and see what they say. And if they want some revisions, we could.
Is it just a one-shot deal?
Yes.
Like you
It-
send it in?
it is.
It'll go to Institutional Action Council for their review and whether they decide yes or no. You don't get an opportunity for them to give you comments back and, oh, let's redo this draft. Let's try it again. They'll either say they accept it or they don't. And if they don't accept it, Phil can give us an idea of what that follow-up will be.
We'll
I mean,
have
it could
to
be a site team, a focused visit. It could be, it'll be
potentially.
additional work. Yeah.
Yeah,
Will there
potentially.
be a requirement, I guess, as far as like bringing our new board member up to speed? Because,
Sure.
we've gone through an in-depth process with the whole HLC visit to begin with. So I would think if you're delaying it, that there would be a huge responsibility as far as what exactly did you do to get your new board member up to snuff on it. So I think if it's, everyone's desire to bump that out, then we should be told, what that's going to entail and how he's going to be caught up on it.
Sure.
And I'm kind of with Shelby on the sense that I feel like this is just getting drug out. Like we haven't even tried it. We've been told 5 different times what it's going to entail, but we can't even try it. And so it feels like middle school, if I'm being totally honest right now. But if we have to wait till January, okay, fine. I don't see why we need to discuss it 3 more times between now and January. Just table it,
Just to blend it.
explain. I don't need input, Julia, with all due respect. This is my comment. It's mine alone. Anyway, I would just rather not keep revisiting it if we're not going to do anything about it till January. And if we're going to do something in January, how are we getting our new board member up to snuff and not going to get us in a pickle when it comes to HLC with that?
Have you given him a new, a copy of the entire report yet?
It's online. He can access it on the website. But that will certainly be part of the discussion that we have during orientation. And we'll make sure that he has access to all that information. I mean, the whole assurance argument, the report from the site team, all of those kinds of things would be part of what we would provide to him. As well as an opportunity then to sit down and, go through it and explain, what that accreditation process means and what it entails.
But I think we could add to what Kim said. Dr. Hughes can certainly decide how in-depth he wants to get into that whole process. The important part to be aware of is going to be the part that we have to respond to next year. I don't know that he can decide what he has to know. Knowing all 76 pages of our response to me isn't as critical as knowing the 3 pages that related to 2C and the board's response on 2C, because that's where we have to respond. Not, although there's hundreds and hundreds of pages of stuff, most of that is not going to be relevant to what we have to do, what our next steps are. Julie, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to ask Dr. Sperry, one of the things that I heard from several different sources was that Higher Learning Commission during the election, and of course, all things are crazy then, but is that our accreditation was in jeopardy because of this. So I just want a yes or no. Has the HLC ever put our reaccreditation in jeopardy because of this? Was it ever in jeopardy?
Well,
Just yes
I
or
would
no.
say in terms of the process, I would say at present, no.
Thank you.
That's in terms of the accreditation being in jeopardy, that's a long process that I would hope that we don't have to pursue at all.
Well, you know, one
Because
of the things,
I would say that in terms of their response from the panel, they might ask for, they could possibly ask for a follow-up clarification of something in the report.
did I hear
they-
Mr. Gordon, how do you pronounce that? Gordon. Anyway, Kircher, right?
Kircher.
Did I hear him correctly the night that we had that work session? Did he actually refer to this as no big deal? I mean, that's, I don't remember the exact words, but I remember that something that he said when we were firing questions at him was this is not that big a deal or something similar to that. And I need to review the recording because it is on there at that work session.
I would
whatever he
have to
said.
review it too.
Yeah.
My sense would be, just in knowing Tom, that reference was, if it's addressed appropriately, it's not going to be a big deal. I mean, knowing Tom and the way that he approaches those things, that would be my sense, is that, address this, resolve the issue. It's not going to be a big deal.
And to that point, I would specifically like to say, you guys have a document written on the wall that abridges my freedom of speech that I can't sign. I've offered something 2 months ago, I think we could all sign. And it would be a good thing to present to them, signed by Julie, Shelby, and Kim, as well as Dr. Hugheswig. We can send them 2 copies of, like, now we all agree on this, and here's our under 7-page report, or 4 pages of 4 different items. But that's not a bad thing to go ahead and have a document that we could all agree on. I mean, it's kind of just being avoided. I don't know why we can't come to a consensus on it.
I think that's one thing, but I also think that do not underestimate the power of HLC, and know that I think, just as Dr. Sperry said, they're looking into, okay, what are we going to do as far as, are we going to get involved in academic interference? Are we going to, our role is not to do that. Our role is to oversee and to write our goals out that oversees the operation and lets the people who are in charge of the college and the instructors and the deans and all of them do the management, because I guarantee you that every teacher has compiled files and files upon evidence to always refute or to always support their teaching styles, the learning styles of kids, the documentation that goes with it. And to say, oh, we're going to change the wording of something and then send it in and say that's going to satisfy him. That means, I mean, personally, I kind of think that would be if I was sitting on the HLC, it would be like, well, they're kind of poo-pooing this, and they could jeopardize our accreditation.
No.
And you may think they may not, but they are all powerful.
They've reaccredited us for 10 years and said this is not the reaccrediting factor. If they're not happy with this, they can visit us later and address it, but it doesn't affect our accreditation. And by state law, we're the Board of Trustees, it's Kansas statute 71-201. The Board of Trustees, in accordance with the provisions of the law and rules and regulations of the State Board of Regents, shall have custody and be responsible for the property of the college, responsible for the operation, management, control of the college. And also goes on to say that we can set policies and do, so we can't just have no authority of any kind, because, but what they specifically ask us for, we're all just ignoring. It's like, tell us that they're telling us, tell us you understand the division of roles between the president and the board. Which that thing on the wall that I've revised does explicitly say that, and everything on this page. It pretty much explicitly addresses, so that's, would be a great starting point, like, we all agree on that page. Because there's no way I'm gonna sign that in January if that's an ultimatum that I have to say that I have to, like, for instance, is either last month or the month before, you're like, the board voted to raise tuition and it's affected you disagreed with it. But you disagreed with board policy, which specifically says on that, that you will uphold board. You kind of violated this, what you said on that, but you should have that right to say. The
No, I
majority.
disagreed with the vote, but once the vote happened,
Right, but you
then
didn't
I'm willing
support it in
to,
the way it was written.
I'm willing to put up with the way, if our enrollment went down, okay, it went, one of the reasons why I think it went down was that we raised our tuition more than what was suggested to us.
Sure, but I mean.
And we had every right to do it. We had every right to do it. And I'll support that, but I think that when we look at causes, we have to look at that as a cause.
Right, and I think you should have your freedom to say your opinion, and whatever the majority votes, that's the policy of the college. That's how I revise it. Just, we recognize 4 votes is the majority, and that's the policy of the college. We will say that in public all the time. That's.
Dr. Cruz, you have I think we may be able to.
Yeah, so there's another option that some of the other colleges are, moving towards rather than signing a document. Cloud County Community College, when we had our last KACC meeting there, they've taken the ACCT Code of Ethical Governance. Well, and basically, I mean, a lot of it is what's stated there, but they've taken that and reproduced it in poster format and framed it. They put Cloud County's logo at the top. And then they've just added, and it's framed and hanging in the boardroom, but rather than the board members signing that document, they put a statement at the bottom of it that just says, adopted by the Cloud County Community College Board of Trustees on a date. It doesn't say who voted for, it doesn't say who voted against. It just says it's been adopted. So it's a general statement that the board accepts and believes in these principles that are part of the ACCT Code of Ethical Governance. And so that's would be a good process forward. And some of the institutions are adopting that. And then you don't have to sign a document, but it's just a statement that the board has adopted and accepted it. So I can send that in. I think I made copies of that I can give to you so you can look at it.
Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's have something that all 7 of us of all different walks of life can agree to wholeheartedly. Because then you're going to have a statement on the board that 5 people vote for, say the majority of that's the policy. And it is the policy, but this would show a consensus.
Well, the problem is, Shelby, I don't agree with everything in your revised version. I mean, there's the attorney in me. Julie.
No, it is a problem. Whatever you do.
Your snarky comments that are.
No, it's not snarky. I'm just saying that yes, there's going to be disagreement. That's what I'm saying.
The attorney in me looks at things and I want clarity. I want to avoid ambiguity. I don't like terms that are subject for all 7 of us to individually interpret. And your comment about it will not abridge my First Amendment rights, that's a hole a truck could drive through. Because you and I have disagreed on this issue from the very start as to whether the current statement abridges your First Amendment rights or not.
Just read it. It says, I will affirm, or I will.
Well, it gets to the point you and Dave were just talking about. There is a difference between supporting a decision after it's made, even though you didn't agree with the decision. And you want to mince words and say that that the rule tells you that you have to be a cheerleader and rah for decisions you didn't vote for. And I don't believe that's what it says.
I think you actually have a copy of what I just passed out to you, Shelby.
I remember that meeting. I remember you taking.
There's a copy right here.
Express delight in
Passed out
putting
to
that
you.
on the board. We take that.
You have a copy of it, Julie, right in front of you and what
No,
I
I
passed
need
out to
one
you.
that-
Says, I will
That's
support
exactly
the
what
decisions and policies
copy
we
that you
make and
have.
speak with one voice once a decision or policy is made. We're 7 individuals. Like, we can't mandate that I speak with one voice. I can say that's the college policy. I voted for this one, I voted against that one. I agree to disagree. Dave didn't like that vote. That's his prerogative. You voted against us, but this is our policy. And the way it's revised, it just says, whatever the majority votes for, I will state, that's the college policy, period. You know? And it doesn't mean I voted for it.
It's on the back page.
And then
The one he, no, the one he
Oh,
proposed, not the
That
one.
was, I thought that was.
But I've got the one proposed. The only thing I changed was that line was, that I will publicly affirm the majority decision of the board constitutes the college, the policy of the college. Like, yeah, that's the policy of the college. I may disagree on some things, but that's the college policy. And then I just put at the beginning that we'll abide by the Kansas Constitution and the United States Constitution. I don't see what's unoffensive about it, if it just clarifies that we can all support it. Maybe we can't all support it, we need to revise it, but that's why I submitted a couple months ago, so we could have some back and forth and hopefully get it signed and sent off to HLC, because that does address their issue that the rest of it says we all have act collectively, serve our community, we're ethical. And it says at the end, I will honor the division responsible between the board and the president and staff. They ensure true cooperation and mutually supportive relationship with the president, staff, and party. That's still in it. Yeah.
I would ask that we move forward. We're not going to come to consensus tonight and use the work session time that's set aside to do this. In reference to this being the only thing, I have some other ideas that I've considered and would like to discuss them, but not now.
To Kim's point, do we want to just, and I don't want to put us behind the gun, but I don't think we will. Do we want to table this for the January work session? Because I agree with Kim's point that we don't need to keep rehashing this every month when we when we're waiting until after Dr. Hueslig takes office. It seems to me that the next time we ought to broach this would be a discussion that he's going to be a part of.
I agree. It should be the January meeting.
But I do think we ought to ask for an extension then on that.
Okay, I think that ask has occurred, right? We just haven't heard back.
I did. Yeah, I did. We contacted Dr. Bordenkircher. He was going to reach out to the Institutional Action Council and seek their approval for that. And he said he would get back to us and let us know if they approved it.
Because sometimes their dates don't consider different, elections and different things like that.
Obviously, if they don't give us an extension, we're gonna have a discussion.
We're gonna have to
Yeah.
count it
Yeah.
out in January. You'll have about 2 weeks to get it done.
But what I'm hearing also is y'all are unwilling to sign the revised one, just like my side was unwilling.
Let me
to
look
sign
at it more
yours. It's-
closely. Don't interpret
No,
that from
no,
my comment.
You all have had it for 2 months and are unwilling to sign it tonight, and I asked October 23rd to be an action item. Everyone was informed on October 23rd. No discussion was had. So it's just simply the fact the shoe's on the other foot now, and you guys are unwilling to see what I presented, just as I was unwilling to sign. So it's just, it is what it is.
I
would
like
to
having these
consider
two
the-
together. I didn't have these two together to compare.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a very small change. But I see you guys are unwilling to do anything with it, which is kind of frustrating.
I don't think that's an accurate description. We're not, just because we're not willing to sign it tonight, but we're specifically saying we want to table this and talk about it later. It does not mean we're unwilling.
But Dr. Kroll handed out to us at the beginning of some meeting, here you go, y'all sign this, and we're gonna stick it on the wall.
Well, and I don't
Okay.
think, you're not trying to be difficult, but Forrest, you said you were not in agreement with what Shelby's saying. And so you did actually say that. So it's not his
Well-
interpretation of you not being on board with it. You said that.
My recollection of what it said is, it is different now than what I was thinking it was before. So I want to relook at it again. It's the language that I had a problem with may have been pulled from a different document because I'm not seeing it in the version that Shelby's presented here.
For the record, I'm fine with signing what Shelby has submitted, but
And I would ask that we just sign it when Julie is here, and it would show a consensus of the board
For once.
finally. Hey, we all agree on this.
maybe we can agree. with
There
one
was-
thing.
Nothing bad can happen about that, because it's gonna expire in January, the 14th, and then we sign another one or tweak it slightly. I don't see all of us coming together on a revision of a affirmation of service standards of good practice I don't see that being a negative.
One thing that I would suggest is the HLC panel will expect documentation that demonstrates action that is in response to whatever you sign or whatever you post. But the single document that is posted or signed or whatever ends up happening and minuted discussions, your commitment to whatever you sign.
Whatever we send HLC can go far above and beyond.
And this, let's sign it again with Dr. Hugheslig. Let's send these both with our pages that address each issue, less than 7. But that whole entire meeting was pretty much, don't send us a bunch of stuff. Keep it short, keep it sweet. Don't bring up all the past stuff you've done. Because we could write a book on all that we've done and all the meetings and everything that was said. They don't want that. They want us to address exactly what they said as concisely as possible and then be about our business. And we can do both. We have the 4 bullet points, say this is what we've done, and they address that in their report. Like, we know you did these meetings, we know you did that, you got 4-3 votes, you did this and that. But they literally said they don't want to rehash. Because they've already gone through that and they have that report.
If I could ask Dr. Sperry a question. One of the things that was discussed during the work session, there was an indication by Tom, to pronounce correctly, but anyway, suggested that he would like to see us vote more together. And I would like to know what you think would be a way we could achieve that and still maintain our individuality as far as voting as we feel like our constituents would want us to vote. Do you have any thoughts on that? On how you would address that? Because it kind of bothers me that the HLC would, we're all elected. So it kind of bothers me that they would even make mention of that. But I'm sure I heard that correctly. They would like us to vote together more often, and I don't see how that could happen unless we all just become pretty much agree with whatever. But if you have an idea of how we can achieve that, because like Shelby said and alluded to, we've had seminars, we've had practice sessions, we've had training sessions, and we still maintain a 3-4 vote or now, which will probably go to 5-2 later. So that being the case, I would just like to know, you're kind of an expert in this. So if you could suggest how we can possibly start voting all together, then if there's a path to that.
Well, I think that a greater concern that I see reflected in the team response is evidence from board meetings in terms of minutes and also videos of contentious conflict in terms of issues. I think that they don't expect everybody to vote together about everything, but they they would hope to see more harmony in terms of work process.
How do you do that and have different opinions?
I
mean, I guess you could say it nicer. You can not be so frank. You can flower it up a little bit, but it's either left or right or forward or backwards or up or down. I mean, clearly, I don't understand that part. I hear what you're telling me, Dr. Sperry, and I respect the fact that you have been involved this many years, and I appreciate that. That's why I'm actually asking you before I leave. I would like to see how you would resolve that, other than telling the board members to all vote together no matter what. I don't mean to sound snarky, But I'm
No, and you're not sounding snarky to
good
me.
because I'm just asking you, how would you possibly convince them? And why do we need to convince them of that? I guess because we're all individuals and we all have our own way of voting and our own thoughts. So that's like saying, well, we prefer you vote together, even though you're all elected from different territories. We just would like to see you get along better. Well, we'd like to see that too, but unfortunately, there's a lot of factors out there that we haven't talked about openly that are aiding and abetting that division amongst the board. There, that was pretty eloquent.
Well, I hope that you're able to address those dynamics in your monitoring report.
Well, we're going to rely on you for guidance.
Well, I can only
I'm waiting for
guide
somebody to say,
you
hey, would you
to a
just go ahead and
certain
write them?
extent.
Well, we have to write it. I don't know. I think this is one thing that we can do. I agree with you. But I also think we need to, and we can agree to disagree and agree to disagree in harmony.
Right. Yeah.
And we all were elected by groups of individuals, and we all serve those people, but we all also, we have, even though we're elected, we have a lot more information at our disposal than the ordinary citizen who elected us, because of the seats that we sit in. And you said something, well, vote how my electorate wants. Well, sometimes you're voting how you feel will be in the best interest of the college. And you're not, there are times when I know that I vote that maybe some people may not agree with me, but I'm voting in what I think is in the best interest of the college and what serves the college in the future. And I don't know how to put it other than that.
Well, I think anybody here, since it's such a high paying job, anybody here,
I think we should just do our best, study the data the best, make our best informed decision, agree to disagree,
let it go.
whatever the majority votes of the board policy. But just to clarify, this was sent out on August 28th. This language, again on October 23rd. A couple months ago, I offered to write an HLC report to address it. We could have taken my offer and then revised it and been on our merry way of having satisfied this. So it's a little frustrating to have stuff on the table and we're kicking the can down to the last minute.
And I think there's been a fundamental disagreement between what you think is a sufficient scope of a response and what others, including myself, think.
Well, you could have said, sure, Shelby, write one. Had me write one, say this, mark it up. If I don't agree, this and that, then we could come to consensus. But even the one page of just, 2 sentences different, we're having a hard time with.
Well, the thing that I also want to, and Dr. Sperry said it is that we just can't keep sending things. We only have one shot. We're at the plate. We got 2 strikes.
Yeah, but I think let's sign this and let's address the 4 points. Let's figure out what they are, and then we could start compiling some responses, even if we all individually write a paragraph or 2 of how we address those issues, and then we could come together and organize it, write the report and send it on. I think we're making this into a much bigger deal and much more difficult than it is.
I agree.
But are y'all willing to sign this tonight, or are we gonna?
I'm willing to sign it, Shelby. I like the way you said.
But I would like to, now that I have this other piece, I would like to compare.
Any other comment for tonight? Nobody said their piece. Suggest we move on. Is there any disagreement to tabling this until the work session in January? And that assuming, of course, that our request to extend the deadline is granted.
Well, I'd really like to sign that myself. I really would like to sign that
You
as
can sign it
somebody
if you
who
wanna
is
sign
on
it.
the board.
If you want to sign it, sign it.
Actually, why don't we just all sign it? Who's willing to sign it? And we can have it beside the one with the unwilling signatures and there'll be a total of.
If you all want to sign it after the meeting, it's there. You feel free to sign what you want to sign after the meeting. Some have already said that
Why-
they're not
why
comfortable
after the
signing.
meeting?
Because some have already said they're not comfortable signing it right now. So it's not an action item. If you want to sign it, you can sign it. We can move forward.
Maybe table to December. My last meeting.
The sense that I just got was we don't want to keep rehashing this every month until January. So
To sign is all I'm saying, to sign.
We have a physical meeting next month. I'll bring it typed up on one page and pass it around and we'll see who signs it, who doesn't. And then we'll do whatever we do in January.
Thank you, Shelby.
okay, let's move on then. The HVAC and the 900. Yes, Dr. Spree, thank you. Ireland. Bill was a bit higher than expected. Or not the bill. I guess it's not a bill yet.
The request.
Yes, you are correct, Forrest. It was a bit higher than expected. As you can see in the topic for discussion, we sent out bids to 6 general contractors, 4 turned in bids. Of those 4, there was 3 mechanical contractors that also turned in bids to those generals. All 4 bids were within $30,000, so I feel like they're probably a pretty solid bid. The first bid that opened, I was thinking that maybe only 1 mechanical contractor bid all of them, but after further investigation, we feel like it's pretty solid. We believe we can go back and possibly save $40,000 to $60,000 designing a few things and cutting out a few controls and stuff like that. But it's still going to be, if we continue, approximately $800,000, $820,000. My concern is I don't feel like the system that's in there now will continue to go another summer. So I feel like that we're either going to have to change plans and totally design something, which is going to be pretty difficult. The building is, we don't have a whole lot of space above the ceilings. We have about 3 foot of space between the ceilings and the roof. And that space is the roof choice, which were 14-inch steel. So we're trying to put everything between the steel joist. We don't have the room for ductwork, so we're pretty limited. That is one reason why we have 22 units in the building instead of bigger air handlers and a lot more ductwork. We just don't have the space in there. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? Because our plan is to a continued work with the engineers and architects to try to get a better grasp of the pricing. What cost us most? It looks like about 20% of this project was underground piping, material and labor from the 900 to our chill plant. The controls was about 13% approximately. And then the labor was 30% and materials was around 37% in the bids. So Trustee Winslow, you have a question?
Yeah, I just, I really am kind of about trying to buy from Butler County, as I've made mention in several meetings. Conco, where are their headquarters? I know there's
Wichita, Kansas.
several of them that live in Butler County because they live close to me. What about Commerce?
Commerce is in Wichita. The only Butler County general contractor is McCollum Construction. They're the only ones.
Right?
That is correct. They're the only ones that is in the county licensed as the general contractor for commercial.
All of these are out of Wichita except for Crossland, and I think they're out of where?
Chanute or somewhere down there. They have a Wichita office though. Pittsburgh.
Gonna be here probably when we decide this, but
So
one of my biggest concerns is we're not buying enough from Butler, and as long as it's not too much over, I just soon buy from Butler because we take so much from them as taxes. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, and I understand that.
So
all the mechanicals are out of Wichita, Sedgwick County. There is
Except for McCall.
mechanical contractors.
Okay.
The subcontractors, we do not have a subcontractor, a commercial mechanical in the county right now.
So that's too bad. And when we don't have, then I understand. But boy, when we do,
I understand.
I hate it when we go out of county or out of state to get it.
So then, am I kind of reading your statement right, that we probably need to reevaluate that 400,000 to maybe 850,000?
I would say, to be realistically, we're probably 8 to 830. Yes.
And
That's correct. I'm planning on,
With your subtractions of the one, what you thought might be.
yes,
Something
we're
we can
planning
do
on
away with.
getting a sound number of our savings and bringing it back for approval, in the December board meeting.
And just as a reminder, a few of the community colleges, including Butler, received capital outlay dollars this year for the very first time. For years, the community colleges that affiliated with technical colleges or technical schools years ago have always gotten a capital outlay in their annual budget from the state. This year, this past budget year, when they were working on the budget, the technical colleges that are independent, WSU Tech and Flint Hills and Manhattan Area Technical College, they requested capital outlay dollars for their institutions to deal with deferred maintenance. And Heather Morgan, who is our executive director of KACC, said, well, if the technical colleges are getting capital outlay dollars, then the community colleges that have never gotten capital outlay dollars should get capital outlay as well. So I think there was a pool of $5 million maybe total. Butler got about $1.3 million of that has to be used specifically for deferred maintenance or capital outlay. Specifically, really, they wanted it to be used for deferred maintenance and capital outlay. That's a perfect use for this money, and it fulfills those expectations at the state level for how those funds should be used. So we would use that capital outlay funding that came from the state to pay for this. So it would come from the general operating budget or, any other area.
That was my one question.
Was there a
It has to be
timeframe for
used
those
within
funds?
this year. Yeah.
Is there any way to just replace the old units with more conventional HVAC units and offset some of that with mini splits? I mean, there'd be a lot of them, but is there any way to use the existing ductwork and just upgrade the equipment?
The system that's in there doesn't have any ductwork. It's a VRF system. They're each individual units that have their own fans in them. So there is no ductwork. And the system that we're trying to install or get approved would be running off our hydronic system, our boilers and chillers, which means I don't have any more utilities because I'm already heating and cooling the water for the campus anyway. And if I add any more mini splits or DX, I got more electricity, which our electricity was way over last year's budget. So.
At what point did we realize that this improvement needed to be made and we predicted this $400,000?
It was this last summer, we kept struggling. In a report I gave earlier, we have spent almost $100,000 in the last 5 years trying to maintain this system and keep it going and make it work correctly, and we have failed.
Have we done energy audits on our buildings? We had a third party.
Not recently. It was 2014 and 15. We did one. Yes.
Okay. And then what do we anticipate any utility savings once we upgrade?
Yes, we should have. I don't have the numbers, but we'll be decommissioning the VRF2 condensing units. So I will have some savings, but I don't know how much. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Sterling,
Yes.
Do you have any idea, briefly, how we got from 400 estimate to
Well,
I mean,
not
inflation over that
exactly,
line.
but to be honest, the 400,000 was my budget. I had taken the 500 project, 300 project, the 1,600 project,
You
and
figure
our
that's all you're
cost
gonna get anyway.
per square foot. And I miscalculated because that the design in that building and the and structure and stuff, I had to add more stuff. So it was a my mistake on that probably. So and the increase of materials and labor and stuff over the last 2 years. Yes, sir.
Do you have any other buildings on campus that might see something like this down the road that are kind of the same cooling setup as what tonight's building has?
No, the 900 is the only one that has a VRF system, except the stadium has one too. They're unique and I would not recommend them.
Not in a good way.
Yeah. This systems are so technical. The only company we could have come in and work on it was TMI out of Kansas City. And yeah, it was when we did the project years ago, it was going to save us $100,000 to put this VRF system in instead of hooking into our chillers and boilers. Well, hindsight's always 10/10.
I appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you.
And one last thing, is this primarily a summertime issue? Is that the only time it gives us trouble, not being able to keep it cool enough, or?
Yeah.
Hold it. Let me phrase.
Shelby's hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
No, it is not only a summertime, but it is harder to cool space than heat space. So it's a larger problem in the summer. So
It's really cold.
Yeah.
it doesn't work. Right. That's correct.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Thank
you.
I mean, I love the savings, but.
Okay, good discussion there. Let's move on to the strategic higher education topic. Dr. Kroll.
Yeah, Jessica's here to add some things as well. This is really just for discussion tonight. We'll provide additional information at the work session in November. Marketing engaged became aware of strategic higher education through references and recommendations from other institutions, through conferences and things like that. And they really engaged to help them understand their processes related to marketing and how they manage the students that express interest in the college. Kelly's talked about the top of the funnel and all of those students that are at the top of the funnel, and is marketing engaging with them the right way, and are we attracting them the right way to the college? And so the work that marketing and that our folks did with this spring resulted in them working specifically with the cohort of culinary arts students, because it was a prescriptive group of students that were part of that funnel. And so they kind of dove deep into at least how those students end up at the top of the funnel and how they find interest in the college, and then how they work their way through our system to actually being enrolled and being in class and being in the classroom. And what she has helped us understand is that we have some tremendous opportunity to change some of the conversation that we have with students and change the process that we use to engage students and to walk them through that entire process of going from interest at Butler and thinking about Butler to actually being enrolled. And it's really a change in perspective and process that's very sales oriented and sales recruiting oriented, and really driving those students through the process, which is different than what we have been using. And so we want to have a deeper conversation with you about continuing to engage and building out a process where they utilize some of their team members. They do direct, not just consulting and identifying changes in processes, but they really mentor and they walk alongside staff using some of their experienced staff to mentor and to retrain and to guide and to teach people this difference in process that's really more of a sales process. And so we've had some conversations with them about expanding the work that they do for us beyond just that cohort of culinary students to a broader group of programs and approach to making some changes. And so we'll bring back some additional information and opportunity. At the work session, we probably will try to see if either Dr. Atkinson or Heather Sayer can join that conversation in at the work session in November and give you a deeper perspective of the work that they've done with other institutions and the success that they've had and the approach. They feel like Butler has some significant opportunity to create a different process to help move students through that entire enrollment process that will have an impact on the bottom on the numbers of students that we engage and we enroll. And so they look at everything from marketing all the way to I guess, people in seats in the classrooms. So correct, Jessica. Yeah. Jessica's team and folks in Jessica's area will really be directly engaged in the build out of this and those new training processes. So Jessica, do you have some other things that you want to add to that conversation just in general? And then I will again have more specific information for you at the work session.
I think that you did a great job summarizing what it is that we're looking to have she do. Really, it's one thing to have a consultant come in and do work for you, but to have them come alongside us and train us with the process is one of the things that I'm most looking forward to.
Do you feel like your staff has the capacity to take the time and do that?
We will need to make some adjustments, but we've been planning for how we can do that.
Okay.
I'm not going to add new positions.
No.
We have folks on staff that can be part of this retraining process, we believe, and believe that this is a first step and a first opportunity that eventually then will be built out among all of the staff with the processes and changes and stuff and the different approach.
So if I can ask a question.
Sure.
So has this already been applied to the culinary arts?
Yes, that's what they did this spring.
Okay, so what do you have a measurable effect?
I don't have that data with me at this time.
We saw some increase. We saw some increase in the enrolled students in the culinary program. They looked at prior like spring semester data. They worked specifically with that spring cohort, potential spring cohort of students. And the goal was to make sure that there, what do they call it? Drive 55,
Yeah,
I think, or something.
Right. The goal was 55 students enrolled,
Yeah.
and not all of those ended up being in culinary because some students will express interest in one program and then decide that they're going to go another route.
We're gonna do
Okay.
some mechanic.
Yeah, right, that's okay.
We consider that a win because they're still enrolled. But yeah, there's some data to support that as well.
Was this money, is it financed out of the marketing budget? Or these additional monies?
No,
The she broke.
this moving forward would require some additional funding. And we've talked about using some of the strategic innovation funds because that's what they were set aside for, was new innovations and stuff. The work that was done this spring was funded through the marketing budget and money that Kelly had.
And we increased our marketing budget $420,000. This will supplement that and help our marketing department. I'd rather not just continue doing what we're doing. Incorporate this with that budget would be nice instead of adding this on top of that as well.
Well, we're not adding additional dollars to marketing. This is a more holistic
You're
approach.
spending
than just
additional
marketing.
dollars in marketing and spending additional dollars for she.
We'll bring forward some of that plan so we can talk about it at the work session. And
I would like to see how many dollars were expended for the 55 students just to see cost per student and seat.
Yeah, maybe a little refresher on how much what the culinary has done since the building was built, what the enrollment's been like. I know we still have a significant enrollment in Andover culinary, do we not?
That's where the
That's where,
program
yeah,
is.
the program's in Andover.
Not in the culinary building. Not in the new building that we just built.
Yes, it's in the culinary building in Andover.
All of culinary is at the Redler Center.
Okay. That's what I should have said.
That's where I thought you were going, but yeah.
You read my mind. No, I was going there because I didn't, wasn't sure that I knew we were using the Andover facilities at the school for quite a bit for a while.
That was before the building was built.
It's
Oh,
all moved. Everything is at. the
Yes.
moment. Okay. Yeah, I kind of.
Andover High School is just Andover High School now.
We used one of their kitchens when we were in the process. of
Right, but,
building. Yeah.
but right now it's
Yeah.
just their high school.
Do we have any update on the Butler signage for our building there?
Yes, it's moving forward. Ireland. It's been a struggle, but we do have.
6 months.
Cause I drive down there in Firestone, every single building has one or two on each side and it's just like.
Yeah. It's moving forward.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, as long as it's coming. Okay.
And we've had a closure on that property, right?
Yes, it happened back probably 2 months ago.
I just wanted to make
Maybe,
sure.
I mean, we signed the paperwork.
So we can actually change the sign. When you get it here. Yeah, when you
Hopefully it
get it
says
here,
Butler
we can
Community
install
College.
it.
That's just an additional one for the.
We're putting a big Butler B, the big Butler B on the north side of that building, and it'll say Butler Community College. And then there will be there's a smaller signage on the front of that building that'll go underneath the Redler Institute. Yeah, so there'll be a big B on the north side of that building.
Let me ask one more question. Are you involved at all in the community classes that we're offering out there? Because I have heard some positive things about the community classes that are being offered. I'm not really sure what they're about. I think they're particular subject matters like how to make lasagna or how to do pinwheels or whatever, but.
Yeah, they had a great barbecue class. supposedly.
Okay. Good. Well, because the people that have taken them have been really happy with them.
Any other questions on the SHE program? We'll get more information next month. Thank you. Moving on to our action items, Michael Schweigert's retirement. Kelly?
You should have just stayed up there. Get your chair.
Yes, Michael started actually last month. He had his 28-year anniversary. He's been with Butler since October of '95, I think is what he said. He actually hired me in June of '96, so we go back a long ways. So Mike's been the supervisor over the technical services that department, which is over all the fleet, carpentry, painting, locksmith, etc. He has a lot of knowledge on the ADA, the elevators, the fire stuff. He will be missed for his knowledge for sure. But we do wish him luck in his next endeavor. So thank you, Mike, for your service, and we will miss you.
Would entertain a motion to accept Mr. Schweigert's retirement.
Make a motion to accept his retirement.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes,
Okay, that passes 7-0. Move on to the consent agenda.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
And I'll second it.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay, we'll keep moving on. Dr. Mohammed, any KPI to update us on?
I do.
Just like every few months, I come up to you to let you know about the updates to some of the KPIs. Today, there is one. It is a measurement of how our students are doing transferring out to state universities. What you do see is in fall of 22, the average transfer GPA our students had was 3.29, which is an improvement from the last one, which was 3.26. So that's a good sign. You will also notice that our transfer hours in fall of 22, they're 48.5. That was the average transfer for each student, which went down from fall of 21, which was 50.2. Just to put it in context, a couple of reasons for that. Thank you. One of those reasons is that generally universities are under some pressure, rightly so, to make sure that they don't ask for too many hours to graduate. It used to be anywhere from 120 to 138, 34, 30, 38, 48, whatever it was. Now there's a pressure to keep it at 120, which means that those who are coming in from community colleges will need to bring in a little less than they used to. And to provide further context to it, if we compare that to our peer institutions, this year, fall of 22, we had 4850. Our peer institutions average was 4670, which also went down from their fall 21 average of 4972. So it's not that we are just doing bad. It's just a different kind of thing, that a different level of transfer that universities are looking for. So overall, I think this looks good. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but compared to our peer institutions, we are doing good. And with that, I'll take any questions that you have.
The 48, the hours that are listed here, that's the hours that the transfer institution accepted, not necessarily the hours that they had at Butler.
That is correct.
So they could have more hours
Sure.
at Butler, but that didn't transfer into whatever they were doing.
That is correct.
Okay.
I wondered how hard that would be to find out. So that we could maybe work on improving that transfer rate. Does that make sense?
If
Like
I'm
knowing that 48
I think
were approved but an extra 15 fell by the wayside, how can we reduce that to maybe only?
I think the Board of
Yeah.
Regents is putting pressure on the 6 institutions to accept all of those hours.
Yeah,
Tom
we're,
can talk about the.
yeah, and K-Board just recently did an initiative to create a common gen ed core for the entire state of Kansas. I think we are the 48th state to do that.
How long do you think that'll take?
Well, we're in it right now. We actually submit our final. Actually, I just forwarded the email. Our list of courses have been approved. That we will be using for our pathways that will transfer at the state level. I believe by January, February, we submit that. And then I think by this coming fall, it will be statewide implementation for all universities.
So not
And-
too far off.
Yeah, we're rocking and rolling on it.
Better than back in the old days. I tried transferring from Emporia State to Wichita State and they wouldn't take but 30 hours.
There's
After I'd spent 60 hours or 62.
There's also a report that's compiled by the Board of Regents each year that's called a transfer
Feedback
report. We had asked for that for years and years, and they're finally doing that, but that shows the transfer GPAs for all of the community colleges into the different universities and compares those transfer GPAs against their native students that start there. And so that's a good reference report as well. So.
And traditionally on that, we have seen that our students going in, especially at Wichita State, they do slightly better than their native students in the same circumstances when it comes to GPA.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
So you also have a number of KPIs that go along with our strategic plan, some thank you notes. A couple of things of note on the activity calendar dates that I want to point out to you. Thanksgiving recess, the college closes beginning on Wednesday, the 22nd. close the 22nd, 23rd and 24th, and we'll be back in the offices then on Monday. You've all received an invitation to the legislative luncheon on the 28th. To date, we've heard from a couple of representatives or senators who can't attend. Will Carpenter is the only one that's RSVP'd that he will attend. And I don't know how many are on your list that we haven't heard a word from yet, but it's 7 people we haven't heard from. Will and Jennifer will continue to reach out to them, but Will identified that if he's the only representative that's coming or that's on the list that can come, he doesn't want to come. And so if he's the only one, then we'll cancel the luncheon. So we'll keep you posted. I mean, we got to know soon because we got a planned menu and we've got to get organized for it, but
Who has already said they won't be here?
Jennifer's got that list. Susan,
Okay.
Representative Humphreys, Ty Masterson, was it? Yeah, Wilborn.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody else we have not heard from, except Will. And just some of the, the fine arts things, the instrumental music chamber recital, those first couple of days in December, 4th and 5th. Theater production, the next one, 7, 8, and 9 December. The foundation holiday party, which will be in the David boardroom. You're all invited to that. That's on the 11th of December. I think those invitations are sent out through the foundation, probably, aren't they? Are you working on them? Okay. Finals week, obviously, we'll have our employee luncheon that week as well. Vocal music concert is the same night. On December 12th, the vocal music folks are singing with Wichita Symphony Orchestra at Century 2. And that's one of the reasons we also try to keep that December meeting sort of short because there's Christmas programs and people are busy and stuff. And so that's always an amazing concert. Dance recitals on the 14th. And then the college closes for winter recess on the 22nd and we come back on the 2nd. So lots of dates coming up, lots of basketball in between. So, but again, I would encourage you, if you haven't been able to attend any of the fine arts things, guys, take the time and go. I think you guys all had a thank you from the fine arts people, but the upgrades in the lighting and the sound and the production mapping and the theater are absolutely incredible.
And they showed it off the night I went to the
They've
concert.
used it.
Yeah.
They've used it for every production this fall that I've been to too. So those are the things that I wanted to point out.
Now, the thing at Wichita Symphony is the same night as our trustees meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll try and get you in and out of here quickly. And I think that if I remember right, that concert is free. I don't think there's any charge for it. And so.
Might be a can.
Oh, canned goods. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
If we don't have anything to really do, I wouldn't mind a Zoom
Well, we are-
meeting if it's possible.
Well, we'll see. We'll have HVAC stuff we have to do and, some things like that, but we'll see where we're at with agenda items.
Okay, we've got an exec session, and then that's it for the evening. So would entertain a motion. The language for that exec session is on page 40 of the board book, if someone wants to make that for us.
I've got it. Mr. Chair, I move that the board recess into executive session to discuss negotiations pursuant to the open meetings exceptions for said matters related to employer-employee negotiations, and that the board president, Kim Kroll, Bill Rickenbaugh, Shelley Stoltz, Dr. Tom Neville, Dr. Phil Sperry, and Kit Williams be included, and discussions related to potential properties to be acquired pursuant to the open meetings exception for preliminary discussions related to acquisition of real property with the board and President Kim Kroll present. The meeting will resume here in the Dankert Trustee Boardroom within 45 minutes.
1 second.
That was pretty long.
Yeah. But it was accurate.
You had to take a breath.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes.
Yes.
Trustee Winslow.
Yes.
Trustee Shear.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes. Okay, that's 7:00. We will move into exec session as we've done previously. When we come out, I will note the time in and time out, and we'll also note for the record when we transition from one topic to another. Some people will be leaving at that point. So we have no action items left after
I'm gonna connect.
I was worried I was mowing this week.
If you can, you're muted.
There's still a lot of leaves.
I'm sure, but I have to do this again.
The last 2 days.
Dave, do you want to
I
make
want
this?
to do it one more time.
Dave, do you want to make this motion again?
Yeah.
I think we can use the same language, just skip to the very last.
Right.
The last provision.
Right. I'll do it.
And I'd say 10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
But hang on, I don't know, go back on open session yet.
I think we're good.
Or are we?
I think so.
Okay, we're back in open session. It's 7:06 now. We went in at about 6:22 and came out. Well, we just came out. So would entertain a motion to go back in.
Mr. Chair, I would move that the board recess in executive session and discuss potential properties to be acquired pursuant to the open meetings exception for preliminary discussions relating to the acquisition of real property with the board and the president, Kim Kroll, present. The meeting should resume in the Dankert trustee room within 15 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
150. I gotta get my.
10 minutes, let's say 10 minutes.
It's ambitious. Do we have a second?
I think-
second that. Okay.
Trustee Good.
Mary Martha, you're muted.
Yes.
Trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes.
Yes.
Trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shear.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes. Okay, we will come back in a little bit. Just for the record, the first exec session was entirely devoted to the employer-employee negotiations issue. So we never did dismiss anyone to talk about the second issue in the first exec session.
Should we?
And
We didn't get
I'm
that
too
before we
old.
all leave, just about our site that we already have.
60-foot width though. I mean, that's,
Well, it's nothing in that commercial development.
that is, is that even road signs?
Okay, we're back in the open, we went in, 7:09, came out about 7:19. And we would entertain a motion to say goodnight.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes. Okay, 7:00. Thanks, everybody. Mary Martha, enjoy that grand time.